Let's break down these cultures a bit more thoroughly, shall we? We've already discussed that a sense of unity and community is valued in collectivistic cultures, whereas individual accomplishments are valued in individualism. I have a relative whose son plays baseball, and he's a really good player. His mother always sends out messages of her son's highlights. He hit a grand slam. They made it to the finals. He was the only one to get a home run, and things of that sort. Since I am highly collectivistic, this honestly makes me uncomfortable. And that's because I was brought up not to call attention to myself. It overshadows others' achievements. And unless it highlights all of us or the group, then I try to remain hidden or from being the center of attention. But I also understand that she is individualistic, and this is her way of valuing her son's achievements. Come on, we've all heard of Mexican time or Filipino time. Time is a pretty clear distinction between collectivistic and individualistic cultures. We collectivistic cultures see time as flexible. Yeah, the invitation says 1 p.m., but we show up at 4 p.m. And if you show up at 1 p.m., you get the whole, what are you doing here? You're early. Versus individualistic cultures who see time as valuable. You don't waste it. So we arrive at least 15 minutes early because being late is a sign of disrespect. The next value sort of touches on the example I mentioned earlier, the whole calling attention to oneself. So much that I can honestly and truthfully say that I've never raised my hand in class. From the moment that I started preschool to the moment that I obtained my master's degree. Not because I was shy, but simply because I didn't want to call attention to myself. Speaking up or contributing my opinions in class was not something that I did at home or something that was favorable. With individualism, speaking out and having a voice is something that is valued. It's a reflection of good emotional and social development, and a reflection of having good self esteem. But see how educators can often make assumptions about children based on cultural values and beliefs? X, my not so little guy anymore, will still sleep with me, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. He's 11 years old. It's common for collectivistic cultures to sleep together and share spaces. This would probably be very uncomfortable for someone with individualistic values, right? They'll probably think that X is going to grow up to have mommy issues. And that's because the value is placed on separate spaces or having your own things or property. Growing up, we didn't even close the door to our rooms, not even my parents. Unless, of course, we were going to change, and even that we would announce, Mom, Dad, I'm closing the room, I'm changing. It was almost as if it was an unspoken rule and a sign of disrespect to close the door and hang out in our own space or room. It was as if we were closing off or shutting out the family. This value brings a lot of conflict in the early childhood classroom. Collectivism values focus around people and creating social bonds with others. So, of course, you're going to value holding babies close, even if they're not fussing or crying, simply because it's a way of staying connected. Infants are entertained with people rather than toys, so you'll often hear, "Come on, go play with your brother," or "Hold your sister." Whereas individualism values practice a sense of autonomy and freedom. Children are often left to explore their environment on the rug, or often put into playpens or rockers to allow the child to self-soothe. Sleeping occurs in their own room, if possible, and in a crib rather than with parents or family. The child is also encouraged to do things on their own. Pull up your own pants, put your own clothes on, and feed yourself. Collectivistic values are to do as much as possible for those you love, as this is a way of showing your love and affection for others. For an infant who is often held at home and comes into your classroom, could you see how this can cause a cultural conflict? Caregivers in most U.S. preschools do not value holding a child, right? One, there are laws that really just hinder how much and how close you show your affection to a child. And two, right, you're often caring for several infants at once. And three, it's seen as hindering a child's sense of independence. For a little one who is used to human contact, could you see how this infant could feel a lack of connection and attention for not being held? American values attempt to provide a sense of equality for males and females. Not that it's actually true, but the Me Too movement has definitely made a change in the disparity that exists between males and females. It has given women a voice. This is an individualistic value. With collectivistic values, gender norms are heavily followed. Women are often submissive, the caretakers, and hold less power in the family. Men are the head of the household, the breadwinners, and hold the power. Children don't have a voice. They are talked down to rather than talked to. They hold even less power than women. Age is also a value, hence where the respect your elders rule stems from.